live. All right, I believe that we are feeding out to the folks out there. Let us know how the audio, all that kind of good stuff is coming out to you all. Of course, I am Hank Strange. This is the Who Moved My Freedom podcast, broadcasted live on Utreon. Big shout out to Utreon out there for helping us to be able to go live and do whatever we want to do, talk about whatever we want to, all that awesome freedom stuff that other places like YouTube don't know about. If you're watching this later on YouTube and you're like, how come I can't see this live? You got to go over to Utreon. If you're listening to us on audio and you'd like to join us live, the best place to go is obviously Utreon. All right, make sure you guys also go to hankstrange.com, sign up for our email list there as well. Lots of good things going on over there, lots of ways to contact us and deals and things like that, ways to support us. This is gonna be a fun show where this is a cool subject, something I've been interested in, but haven't like dipped my toe into yet. So everyone, buckle up your seatbelts. Big shout out to Barnauls, makers of steel case ammunition, for supporting the podcast. We appreciate the folks over at Barnauls as well as the guys at High Point. I'm rocking my High Point hat today. I should have, you know what, Lola? I should have brought a High Point with me. All right, let's throw my guests onto the screen here, and I'm going to hit the open button and get this show popping.
Welcome back to the Hank Strange
All right, everyone,
Situation.
welcome back to the show.
Lifestyle
Smash the
of
subscribe
Lola.
button, smash the thumbs ups, ring the bell so you can be notified when we're live. There goes the bell right there. Also, hit the arrows ups. If you're watching us on Utreon, there's an arrow up button right under the title. Hit that. We need that. We need that to for all the folks out there. Okay, so yes, we are live. So we do this thing called Jazz Hands here. My guests are all brand new. We got to do Jazz Hands. We're taking it back from terrorists. Everyone's got to do it. There you go. Jazz Hands. I hope you guys have your big girl panties on. This is episode 841 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. Tonight's title is Amateur Radio, Everything You Want to Know. And we've got GigaParts. So we've got Jason and Steve from GigaParts. Here they go right there. Jason and Steve. There they go. And where you guys are in Alabama, right?
Yes.
Right. So there you go. They're joining us. Jason is not allowed to talk. That's why he's just nodding. No, he's allowed to talk. He's allowed to talk. We also have another Jason joining us. Ham Radio 2.0. Look at that equipment.
Yeah, look at that.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, I left my YouTube pillow in the background. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's cool. No, that's fine. Just put some shots through it. It'll be fine.
Right, yeah.
So there you go. So obviously, obviously this guy knows about, he knows about ham radio and all. So that's what we're going to talk about. Or whatever, and whatever you guys want to talk to us about. Whatever stuff is going on in the world out there. What's up with everyone? How you guys doing? Let's start there. No, don't want no.
Go ahead,
I'll
guys.
go ahead and talk first. Man,
Yeah.
we're doing fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
It's like 71 degrees in Alabama. It's doing all right, man.
How many degrees?
70 degrees in Alabama
70.
right now.
Oh wow. Oh jeez. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Do you guys want to tell the folks out there like about GigaParts? What is GigaParts? What do you guys do?
In a nutshell, GigaParts is an online retailer with 2 locations, one in Las Vegas, also one in Huntsville, Alabama, and we are one of the largest premier retailers for amateur radio equipment in the world. So we carry pretty much everything anybody would ever want to talk to anybody in the world.
Awesome. Okay, very cool. And Ham Radio 2.0, for the folks who don't know, you have a pretty big YouTube channel when it comes to ham radio stuff. So I'll let you tell the folks about yourself.
Okay, cool. My name's Jason also. And you have to be like named Jason or Steve or Mike or Don to be a ham radio operator, it seems these days.
Oh.
But we got a lot of people with those names in ham radio. But no, I started Ham Radio 2.0 as a video series on YouTube about 6.5 years ago. Just did it on a whim, just because I was wanting to show some people how to do some stuff, and it kind of took off. And now it's my full-time gig, and it's grown beyond what I ever imagined it would be. So pretty much all I do all day long is either make videos or research topics on how to make videos, or research radios to make videos about, and that kind of thing. But it's all having to do with ham radio. I'm starting to dive out into some more off-grid communications, solar power, that kind of stuff. So I'm getting and Hank and I met the first time, and Lola as well at the Overlanding Expo in Virginia last October.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to dive into that world a little bit about overlanding and just kind of get my toes wet in some other aspects that are adjacent to ham radio. But ham radio is definitely a passion of mine. I love talking to people about it, so I appreciate the invite tonight, Hank.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know that you're always inviting me to your hangout, and I'm never showing up. Yeah. I'm gonna make it happen.
That's all right.
Publicly, my apologies.
Yeah.
You know, I should be punished.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just a fun time that we do that once a month. And Jason and Steve from GigaParts are usually there too. Mm-hmm. It's just a free for all hangout live stream on YouTube that says, hey, we're ham radio operators, but this is what happened if we all lived in the same city and we got together and we said, hey, let's go out to a restaurant or a bar tonight, just hang out with one another. It's kind of a live stream version of that. Yeah. So it's just a good time just to talk about whatever. So
yeah, modern fun way for people to hang out nowadays. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think that, like you were talking about, there's different streams or circles that are crossing. You know, like I'm a gun guy. I do a lot of gun stuff. That's I would say probably the biggest part of what I do is something I'm very passionate about. But I'm also into vehicles, and I'm a van person. I'm into overlanding. We met at the Overland Expo. Lots of overlanders using radios, right? and yeah,
sure.
And I saw you guys in GigaParts booth. I think what made me stop over there was some solar panel stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then we just started talking, and then it turns out that Jason is like a gun guy, and for some crazy reason was subscribed to my channel and look at my videos. I don't know what's wrong with him. Yeah. So there's a lot of places here where all these things cross over. But you know, one of the things I wanted to get into here first, and if folks have questions about it, feel free to let us know. I would invite everyone that's in the chat to actually let us know. Are you into radios already? What radios do you have? What do you think? I've looked at this for a while, and some of the guys that we do stuff with have radios already. So Walther from Safety Harbor Firearms, he's got stuff. Babyface P, other folks out there. Where should someone like myself that's thinking about getting into this, what should I be thinking? What should my philosophy be? Where should I start?
Well, y'all want to take that, or you want me to?
I know you'll jump right in right after what I got to say. Amateur radio, you have to have an FCC license, and that's one big thing that not everybody wants to do. So, and that's the easiest part. Jason, with Ham Radio 2.0, he offers a plethora of trainings through his YouTube channel for the technician, general, and extra licenses. Yes, there's 3 different licenses. I'm going to say they're not hard, but granted, I have past military communications experience, so it was easy for me.
So anything you do, you have to get a license? Like, is there a lower level that you don't have to get a license?
You're required to hold the lowest level technician. Gives you VHF and UHF capabilities. With HF, looking over on my wall, I think you get CW and very little on HF, which is high frequency, or as I've explained to a lot of people, it shows in conventions, shortwave.
Okay. All right. So I see Jason's nodding the head right there. Did we lose those guys? Yeah, it looks like we lost them.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how we lost them. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I saw you were nodding your head there. Yeah, we'll get them back here in a second. They just need to dial back in. Yeah, so that's something I didn't know. Like, I thought you could just go get yourself a Bofang or something like that. You're good to go.
Well, you can if you just want to listen.
Oh,
anybody can listen to ham. So one of the things about ham radio is that it's totally open. There's no scrambling or encryption or masking of transmissions allowed. So it's totally open to the public. Anybody with a scanner can listen to ham radio frequencies, repeaters, and whatnot. Anyone can buy a radio and listen and receive all they want to. There's a lot of really good shortwave and multi-banded receive, what they call emergency radios, like a solar radio or a crank-up radio or something like that on the market that'll receive ham radio frequencies. And that, that's one of the good things to have in like a 3-day bug-out bag or something like that. So that you have some sort of connection to the outside world, so you can monitor what's going on around you or whatnot. So anybody can listen as much as they want to, but yes, you have to have a license to transmit, and there's 3 levels of licenses in the United States right now. And it's, you progress. You have to get the first one before you can get the second one, before you can get the third one. And you can test for them all at the same time if you want to. If you really, I know a couple guys who've done that. I didn't do that. But you have to test for them all at the same time. But I got a lot of videos on my channel that kind of compare ham radio to CB radio, FRS radio, and GMRS radio. GMRS seems to be pretty popular amongst the overlanding guys right now. And
is this something that happened before?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, they're not muted. I just muted them. Don't worry.
Okay,
go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So and I encourage people to get everything. I've got CB radio, I've got a GMRS license, I've got several FRS radios, and the frequencies and channels that you get in all of those different band plans are different than each other. And a lot of FRS and GMRS stuff overlap, but there's channels that GMRS users have that no one else has. There's nothing overlaps with ham radio. We have our own sets of frequencies. So GMRS is a good CB or GMRS is a good stepping stone into ham radio, but ham radio gives you a lot more of everything than those other services do. I wouldn't say go get a ham license and forget GMRS and CB for forever. Like I said, I've got a CB radio in my truck. I've got a GMRS radio in my truck. I use those, especially for folks who are not licensed in the ham world. But I'm a big believer in have the ability to talk wherever you can, whatever frequencies and band plans you can talk on.
Okay, so if you're getting into this, before you even do it, you need to get some kind of license. What's the lowest level one called?
Technician.
Okay, so technician, is that just a fee that we're paying? What's the deal there?
No, you have to take a 35-question test to get your technician license. It's a multiple choice test, and you can get books, and you can watch videos on YouTube, on my channel, and several others, and you can get apps on your phone that will give you the exact question and answer pool they use.
Okay, so it's relatively easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the exact question and answer pool, and then you go take a test. You pay anywhere from $10 to $15 to take your test. It's 35 questions. You get a 74%, I think it is, to pass.
Okay.
And then it's that way for the technician. It's that way for the next one upgraded from general. And then the top one, which is called amateur extra, is a 50-question test.
Okay.
But it's all multiple choice, and the exact worded questions and answers are out there for you to study. So it's really just a matter of learning the material. Not really. There's not like any trick questions or anything like that. They're not. The information is not written to try to trick you from getting your license. The information's there to try to help you get your license. So
right. Okay.
But no. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to get into the super minutia of any of this. I would recommend everyone out there go check out Ham Radio 2.0. We'll talk about other places to get information from. Do you guys at GigaParts have a lot of these kind of links and stuff like that over on the website?
We actually carry study guides.
Okay.
Through the Amateur Radio Relay League, the W5YI study guide. MFJ has a study guide. I think of what else do we have? Ham Test Online is another tool we offer on our webpage.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll get, if you want to get deep into that stuff, we'll get into that here. What we're trying to do is just introduce everyone to this, so the folks who aren't into it I'm telling you guys, I'm starting at zero, just someone on the outside looking in. When I look at a lot of gun guys, people talking about survival stuff, emergency preparedness, even just like how I have the van and you go out places, folks say to me, look, just don't go walking around with just your phone. You could damage your phone. Your phone might not work some places that you go to. So this is where I'm starting. And when I met Ham Radio 2.0, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then we're all gun guys. We're into a whole bunch of different things. So by the way, I noticed that Edward Brower, he's in the chat. That's the CEO of Utreon. That's one of the beautiful things about this. We actually get the CEO of a tech company to like hang out with us sometimes. And I think he's driving right now, so he might not be able to do some stuff. I believe he's out there driving around somewhere. But he is there. He is keeping up with us, which is very cool. And if anyone out there has questions, let us know. You guys can, like, as we're going down this path here, so you need to get the technician's license. Not expensive, not difficult. Then what comes next? Just buy something? Where do we go from there?
You go to GigaParts and buy something.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you go
exactly.
to Parts.com and, buy a radio. And, it really comes down to, and, I always look up. I know, I'm sorry. It's like I'm looking up at like a script, but I'm not. I don't ever want to sell a radio to somebody that is going to just sit on the shelf and collect dust. So I always tell everybody, buy something that you will use at home in an emergency, because the big key is, when all else fails, amateur radio is one of the biggest quotes you hear, because what does a lot of your local governments and state governments rely on? Amateur radio in their state, because we can talk out, we can talk local, national, and international just from the radios that are sitting behind Jason, because all my radios are in front of, us here, or are behind him. But
yeah, well, Jason, I mean, this is why Jason is a superstar, man. He knows what needs to be shown. You guys are functional. You guys actually get it done. Yeah.
Well, and the big thing is, I don't want to, make, he's got how many radios behind him, and so he's got the same capabilities that I have here. I just have mine strung out between 3 operating stations, where he's got, essentially one operating station with multiple radios, where I've got all mine where I can have 3 different operators going at the same time. Where
maybe you can get Jason over there. Get Jason to take a picture and then send it to me, and I'll throw that up on air here. If you guys want to show it, I don't know. If you may not want to show it. 42 Chilled says mobile ham can be used in house or car with 12 volt. And Brian Quick says, Klaus Schaub says, your puny little radio of ham will not stop the New World Order. I don't know where that comes from.
We're not going to stop it. We're just going to talk over it.
Yeah. But the truth of the matter is here, like, one of the things, so in this, why are we on Utreon, right? Because the modern ways of communicating are happening on social media platforms. But the social media platforms, the corporations that run them are activists, so they want to control what people can say when they're communicating with each other. And the beautiful thing about this is this is an old school way that is very, I don't know what's the best way to put it, very robust, something that's going to survive a lot of bad stuff. If human beings are here, but lots of things are happening in the world, this is a way of people communicating with each other across distances that's going to be there, right? Does that make any sense? A ham radio?
Absolutely.
Correct.
If we could talk to Jason right now with ease.
Yeah.
We lost connection at one point there, and when we came back on, we heard GMRS and CB being discussed. And the key to that is it is line of sight. So as far as you can see is as far as you're going to be able to communicate, where Jason and I could come up on HF and we could talk to each other, and we're almost 700, 800 miles away from each other, if not more.
Yeah.
You know, and
So
all it is, well, not this radio, but here's
it's
a
not a
simple
lot.
little.
It's well, that's the question I was going to ask. Is it a bunch of equipment that you need? So, like, give us an idea. Like, where does someone need to start, and what kind of money are we talking about just to start?
Right there.
Here's
Okay, what are we
one of
looking
our
at?
most. I was gonna say, here is the Yaesu. Trying to get it to focus. There we go.
Yeah.
Here is our most popular handheld from Yaesu, the FT70DR.
Okay.
It covers VHF and UHF,
Okay.
And it costs.
and it cost $159.95.
Okay. So how far can I communicate with something like that?
With this, I'm gonna use the word simplex. Simplex being, person to person, line of sight. So it really depends on your location. Well, I'll use Overland as an example. Where we were standing, we could have worked everybody there with ease. Maybe people on that mountain. So, I always tell people with simplex, it could be 5 miles, it could be 10 miles, it could be, depending on conditions, it could go much farther. But
Yeah.
one thing that I know I discussed with you back in October is repeater systems, which that is our backbone with amateur radio, which is basically just a base station. I'll call it a base station. Could be on top of a building, on top of a mountain,
Okay.
which expands our signals out. So
Okay.
this handheld or a mobile radio could go 40, 50 miles. There's a repeater system here in Huntsville that on a good day will reach Birmingham, Alabama, which is 92 miles away.
Okay. Cool. So there's how powerful the radio is. There's, I guess, like kind of line of sight. If there's things interrupting, and so there's repeaters there along the way that helps get that message, and put it out. If it,
Yeah.
like, just let me know. I don't know anything about this. You guys know
No,
about
what
it.
you said. What
Okay.
you said is right. I get asked this question a lot. I get asked, so how far? What's the range? How come no one ever says the range of this radio? I do a new radio review. I put one up about an hour ago today. What's the range? How come no one ever says the range? Ham radio guys don't ask that question. People who are trying to get interested in ham radio ask that question because they don't understand. And that's okay. And it's not a bad question, okay? But range is totally, like Steve said, range is totally dependent on what's between you and the other station that you want to talk to. If you're if you're standing on the earth and you're trying to talk to another station standing on the earth, then it really depends on what's between you and that station.
Yeah. Now, is this the flat Earth,
elevation.
or is this like, depend? I mean, if you don't,
I guess if it's a flat Earth, you'd be able to talk a lot further.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But,
that's how you know. That's how you know,
yeah,
right
exactly.
there.
Yeah, that's how you know. But if you've got elevation differences between the two stations, if you got trees, buildings, concrete, and all this other kind of stuff, it's going to affect the signal. I tell people the range on VHF and UHF is actually quite far, because there are repeaters on the International Space Station that you can stand in your backyard and point a Yagi antenna towards, and you can talk to the International Space Station from that handheld radio that Steve just showed.
Oh.
Okay, so, and that's
Right.
how many miles up is that? I don't even know.
Yeah,
90,000 miles up, something like that. I'm probably wrong.
Hold on. Oh, yeah,
remember
we're
the
saying.
exact mileage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah, like
allowed
that
to
kind
talk
of
to the
stuff right
space station? Are they going to answer you?
Yes.
I was,
They're most of them.
of course, I
Yes,
got out
there's
of my
a ham
chair.
radio
This is-
repeater on there, and they're all hams. Most of them are anyway.
Okay.
So yes.
Here's a handheld antenna that when the space station flies over us, my wife and I have worked the International Space Station using this antenna and the same handheld we've been showing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, that's something I didn't know about. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but the point is that that's line of sight, because there's nothing in the air between you and the space station. It's straight line of sight. There's no trees, there's no buildings sitting in the air or anything
Right.
like that.
Mhm.
So it's totally different talking. And there's satellites. There's amateur radio satellites that orbit the Earth that
Okay.
you can work as well and use as a repeater, and those are thousands of miles up. So line of sight is very dependent on your range. You can talk for miles and miles and miles and miles if you have clear line of sight, but if you have elevation, trees, foliage, water, land, desert, all kinds of different soil types, mountain ranges, buildings in between you and the other station, it makes a huge difference on the range that you can talk on.
Okay,
But-
very cool. Okay, and so those guys were showing. I forgot the name of that. What was the first setup you guys were showing? Because Lola's question. I'm going to try to get to people's questions here. Lola says, "What's up with the Bowfang that I see all the time? Lots of guys." Lots of guys had the Bowfang, and I know we had this conversation when I saw you guys, but we're going to probably have to get into it here because this happens in the gun world. Everyone says, "What's the first handgun I should get?" Right, and then that starts a whole battle, a whole fight.
You know, I'm not. I will never bash. Yes, this is a Bowfang with some spider webs on it, but you know, there is nothing against owning a Bowfang radio. It's very cheap, inexpensive, and I get that because to me, if I break it, throw it away, buy another one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's effective.
But it's effective,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Me not and you know, keeping away, you know, where we work kind of thing. I'd rather have quality, something I know that's been tested, FCC approved, and the big key is, though they think they're FCC approved, these things are known for spurious emissions and not truly meeting FCC certification and standards.
Okay.
I'll say this. If you're going to play with it and it's just a toy, a Battlefield is a great radio to play with. But if your comms are super important and your life depends on it, you're going to want to spend up to a high quality unit that will guaranteely work when you need it to, like anything else.
Yeah, so if you guys can just talk about this a little bit more, get into this, and then give us names, just so that we say it a couple of times here and we show people stuff. What are the names of the things we're talking about? Let's just do like a versus thing and prices. So Bowfang, what's the price entry level on a Bowfang?
I was going to say $30 to $50.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? That's okay. I thought they were a little bit more than that. Okay, and then what's the other one you guys were mentioning there? What was it? A Yao? What was that?
Yaesu.
Okay, and so the Yaesu obviously will be like 130. You're saying
anywhere from 130 to 179. There's various models that Yaesu offers.
Mm-hmm.
The FT60, the FT70. There's a VX6R. There are so many options out there. And out of all three of those, they all have their features. Like the last one I mentioned, the VX6R, covers 220 megahertz. It's not popular here in Alabama, but down there in Texas where Jason is, they have a lot of 220 repeaters. California has a lot of 220 repeaters. Here, we have none.
Okay. So the Bowfangs start at around $30. Where do Bowfangs go up to? Is there like an expensive one, or why is there this thing? Like, you guys are in this world. Explain to me why this, like, how I think that Ham Radio 2.0 told me this when we were hanging out, that, like, you know, the Bowfang is like the high point of if I misquoted you, let me know.
Yeah, no. That's I didn't want to. You said something at High Point at the beginning, so I didn't want to bash anybody if High Point's one of your sponsors.
That's totally no. Trust me, we're talking about High Point here. They are used to getting bashed or whatever, and the High Points are awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I own a High Point Yeet cannon, and I've shot it several times, and I hit what I'm aiming at when I shoot that gun, so I can't complain about it. But I'm not going to carry it instead of my Glock 17. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So a Bowfang is basically the reason Bowfangs are popular is because they are cheap, and people can buy them. They can take them out to the hunting lease. They can take them out to a fishing trip or to a camping trip. And if they get rained on, if they get lost, if they get dropped and broken or dropped in the river or something, and they lose it, then you're out $30 instead of taking your $300 or $400 radio.
Truck gun of radios.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing. It's like better to have one than to not have one, which is what I tell people about High Points. If you don't have the money to buy $1,000, first of all, handguns are not $1,000 entry level. You could buy a handgun for a couple of $100, but let's say your price range is $100. You can get a High Point for $100.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you could use it to defend yourself. And it's better to have that than to have nothing. If things go wrong, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely agree.
Yeah. So so that I don't know if people have got any questions about that. Actually, Brian Quick says who he was teasing us. He was teasing us before. Brian Quick does a lot of that. Yeah, he's got he's got his own particular brand of humor. It's like it's an acquired taste, but he's been here for a long time supporting us. He says, what happens if you get a ham radio and don't have a license? He says he's not a Fed, but what happens? Do you get
Well, like I said a minute ago, anybody can buy a ham radio and listen all they want to. There's nothing illegal about that. In fact, I encourage people to do that most of the time. If you want to buy one and listen to your local repeaters, a lot of the times you can definitely get a Bofang cheaper than a scanner. Most scanners will listen to ham radio frequencies and repeaters, but you can get a Bofang to listen to local repeaters or local simplex traffic around your area. And there's nothing in the world wrong or illegal about listening. The license gives you the ability to key up on specific frequencies that are designated for ham radio operators. So, so if you think you might want to get a ham radio license one day, go buy a Bofang and listen to some activity around your area. And if you learn that it's not for you, then you're only out $30. Put the radio on eBay and sell it, or give it to someone else who you think might want it. So it's not a big deal, but anybody can do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Is Bofang like the most sold radio, like handheld? Is it the
Probably, just because,
Okay.
like I said, they're so cheap. So I tell people they're an entry level radio. When you first get your license, or before you get your license, you want to buy one and kind of tinker around with it. Great, but once you get your first Yaesu or your first Icon radio, you're going to understand what the difference is between the $30 radio and the $150 radio, or the $300 radio. They just offer more features, better audio quality, both on send and receive. Better what's called descents, and they don't pick up a lot of extra noise from stuff that's around you. So it's just a better overall quality.
I think what was that?
Yeah, digital modes.
Digital modes.
Digital modes.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
one, and I was kind of, jumping on this. In my hand, I hold a Hytera radio. Now, some of you out there may look at that and go, why does that look like a Motorola radio? Well, unfortunately, a couple years ago, Motorola sued Hytera because this is developed very, very close to a Motorola, I forget if it was the XTS 5000, 6000 level. It very close. I mean, the only difference is a couple pieces of software and digital capabilities. And unfortunately, I can't sell it no more. You can't even sell these in the United States because I can't even think of the.
Were they good?
Government.
Were they good radios? Are they good radios?
My personal opinion, yes. Now, yes, these are DMR radios. It's a digital mode. Phenomenal. Now, you look at the price. At one point, these were going for $700-800. I know when we were selling them, I think they were anywhere from $300 to $500, and within a year or two, we had to stop selling them because the U.S. government said we could not sell them no more because of there was spying with Chinese software in them. The Motorola issue. Jason from I'll say Texas. Jason, what am I missing on the Hytera debacle?
Yeah.
It was very ugly.
Yeah, I'm just calling him ham radio.
Okay.
Or I don't know. I don't know what to call him. Should we?
That's right.
2.0. I don't know, but yeah.
2.0. Yeah. 2.0.
Yeah.
Well,
So that was a whole thing. I take it.
And one thing about Baofangs and Woxons, and I don't have a Woxon here. These Chinese radios, they just banned them in Europe. Now I saw conflicting stories why they've banned them. More than likely, it's probably because of the spurious emissions. They're not real sensitive.
What does spurious emissions means? What does that mean?
Broadcast outside of the assigned bands is supposed to work with them.
Okay. Right. The government wants to be in very tight control of everything.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, once you get past the radio, the HT, what they call the HTs, the handhelds, then you move into something like that.
Okay. So this
That
is
a mobile radio.
okay. That's considered mobile, you said?
That's mobile. I mean, most of the
Right.
time they're designed to mount in your car,
Okay.
or you put them in your house.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're getting a dozen miles or up to 20 miles, we have talked to people in South America on this radio before
Mm-hmm.
from Alabama. You can
Okay.
hit hundreds, if not over 1,000 miles with a radio like that, pushing 100 watts.
Oh, okay. All right. Very interesting. So that's where you start stepping everything up there. Let me get a couple
Yeah.
of more comments in here before we get. Let's see what Boss Hog says. I've been a ham radio operator for 25 years. That's awesome, Boss Hog.
Sweet.
There's a lot of new stuff I'm not familiar with, and then he also, what is this? Because I thought he was saying, yeah, he says I have a Wuxon handheld. I have a Yaesu airband transceiver. So there you go. If that, and yeah, I don't know why my camera. There we go. My camera is not focusing. All right, so there you go from Boss Hog. He's all up. He's already familiar. Like I said, if anyone out there can do that stuff, let us know. 42 Chill says Yaesu's better quality.
Mm-hmm.
So and LV Louis
Icon
Cyphers.
as well.
What's
Kenwood
that?
as well. Yeah, Icon, Kenwood, Yaesu.
What's the top of the line? What's the like creme de la creme?
I think that all really depends on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an ICOM guy here. Everything on my side of the shack here is ICOM. My wife is a Yaesu fan.
It's
Okay.
like Ford versus Chevy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They're all great pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Everybody has their and they use it.
What's Ham Radio 2.0 all about? What are you?
Well, there's a when you're talking handheld radios, okay, the top of the line guys are the ones that Jason and Steve are talking about. ICOM, Yaesu, or Kenwood. Those are going to be the three biggest names in handheld and mobile radios for VHF, UHF, and they're all Japanese made. When you get into the more expensive desk radios, like what you see back here behind me, this is the HF radios, and whatnot. There's actually about pardon.
I was wondering what price level we're getting to in that.
You're starting around $600 and going up to you can get a really decent model for about $1,000.
Okay.
You can get some entry level stuff for about $600. But there's actually 3 different companies in the USA that are making HFM radios today. So my favorite HF radio right now is a company called Flex Radio, and those are not only made in the USA, but they're actually made right here in Texas. So there's a couple other companies like Elecraft and Tentec that are made in the USA as well. So you can get some American-made radios. The problem is that these companies don't make the little handheld radios or the mobile radios. They just focus on the more expensive base station radios for the higher frequencies. So top of the line in my mind is probably one of these American-made companies. But if you're talking about HTs and mobile radios, it's definitely one of the 3 that Jason and Steve were talking about.
Yeah. So it seems like, I mean, are we talking about like some $10,000 setups, $100,000?
I was actually going to mention, just because I know Ham Radio's got it, right. I don't know if he can switch his cameras. He has a $7,000 HF radio.
Oh, do you? Is that what's over there? So that's like high end, huh?
It's right there.
Yeah.
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 I don't think he can switch cameras for it.
We can see it a little bit. We can see it a little bit back there. So what makes that so expensive?
That's a different radio. I'm actually on the table next to that power supply and power meter he did a video yesterday on a radio from Expert Electronics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that radio, it actually has a computer built inside of it. So it's a computer and radio all in one package.
Oh, okay.
You can hook up 5 or 6 different antennas. You can send and receive at the same time. You can monitor multi-bands at the same time.
Yeah. So just like any other world that you get into, you could get really crazy and do a whole bunch of stuff over there in that world. One of the comments.
You can spend $100,000, no problem.
Yeah. So LV, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And Jason says $100,000 between my setup here in Alabama. Equipment, I still having my parents in Pennsylvania, New Jersey at a contest station I go to twice a year, and Virginia. I still have 2 repeaters on the air in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Oh, jeez.
I think
What
my
is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I have equipment insurance covering $83,000 in equipment.
Holy moly! And it's spread
Yes.
around.
It's just like the gun guys who
Mhm.
have 25 firearms. You can only shoot
Right.
one at a time, but you still have 25.
Yeah, you can shoot 2 at a time, and if you
shoot
figure
2
out
at a
how,
time, okay.
yeah, if you figure out how to use your toes.
Right? Yeah, you can only shoot effectively.
No, well, yes, there is that.
Tactical gun training kicking in. You can only really do 2 at one at a time. But yeah,
No, absolutely.
There are people that take this hobby to the extreme and to the point that, my setup is small here. I will openly admit that, but there are sites in Illinois, there's one in Maine, that we're talking mid 6 figures between the towers, antennas, radios. There's just not 1 or 2 towers. There's 5 to 10 towers. And I'm not talking like 20, 30-foot towers, 100, 200-foot towers.
Right. Yeah.
And they're talking to the world, the
Yeah.
whole world.
Yeah. What is? Oh, hold on a second. I think is this the expensive? Ooh, look at that. Oh, that's sexy.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's
I don't even know about these radios, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's.
That's
What's
that's
that
the
called?
expert electronics that Steve was just talking about.
So what is this? Is this like space that we're seeing floating through there? Is this the universe?
Those are radio signals on a certain frequency. So
Okay. Wow. So yeah. And what's your distance on that? What's the furthest you've communicated on that?
I haven't had this one very long, but the furthest I've communicated on one similar to this, Europe is pretty easy to talk to. South America, of course, Canada, Hawaii is pretty far away. So it's not unusual to talk to Germany or Italy or Spain.
Okay.
That kind of thing. So yeah, all over the world. It's on a really good day, I can get Australia.
Okay, cool. Can you turn it down a little? Yeah, because it's probably to people out there. Yeah, it's probably driving everyone crazy. So I imagine if things are happening, so like if something's happening in Africa, right, and like no one can believe the news or whatever that's coming out of there, you could probably tune in to someone that's in that country and like actually have conversations with them, I'm assuming.
Yeah. In fact, when things were getting kind of sideways in Cuba, the first thing the government did was block the amateur radio channels where you couldn't talk. That was their first preemptive thing, block out communication. So they literally went through and jammed every frequency that any amateur radio user could use.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was affecting everybody all over North America too.
Oh, so there's no way to get through that.
That was only 2-3 miles. I was going to say it was right around the beginning of October when 40 meters, 7 megahertz, in the amateur band, Cuba was jamming because they just wanted to do it.
They didn't want anybody from Cuba to talk to anybody from here.
Yeah.
Right.
So they didn't want that stuff to get out. Is there a way around that if that happens?
Go to another band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch to different frequency.
Okay. I was just wondering.
We mentioned, like you said, Africa. The big thing is, and like hurricanes. Every time a hurricane is heading towards Puerto Rico, South America, they have designated frequencies that they will tell the amateur radio world, please stay off of 7,200 megahertz. It's going to be for emergency traffic for Hurricane Irene, or whatever natural disaster is going on, or even if it's hurricane, tornadoes. I mean, we even in the stateside here, we will designate certain frequencies only for emergency traffic in the state, so that way we can communicate with each other and pass traffic.
Yeah, there's so many things that can happen there. Let me just get into LV Louis Cypher says you can get a cheap J-frame revolver for $100 at a pawn shop, which is a good point. It's a good point. I always tell people you don't have to buy like guns new, so you can get some higher end guns. You can save some money by getting them. Typically, in these days with the internet, good luck with that. Everyone knows the value of everything, but you can still get deals. You can still get deals. Is that the same thing in the radio world? Like, could the folks out there save money by going to pawn shops and stuff?
Pawn shops are a little bit. If someone knows what they have and they know what they want to sell, they want to sell a ham radio and they know what it is, they're usually not going to take it to a pawn shop. But you do get a lot of folks who their parents pass away and they're cleaning out attics and they find some ham radio stuff and they'll take it to a pawn shop because they don't know what else to do with it. You do get some of that, but it's kind of hard to find stuff in pawn shops. But you can find a whole lot of ham radio stuff on eBay, used stuff on eBay. There's ham radio specific websites out there where operators like myself and Steve and Jason can get on there and sell used equipment. So the used market is very, very popular in ham radio today for sure.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Jason and Steve.
I was gonna, Jason, he said trade in. That is my primary daily thing at GigaParts is trade ins and processing returns. But more than anything, trade ins. This year alone, I've had 200 and I think today I hit 75 trade-ins for the year. And that was handhelds, mobiles, base stations, antennas, amplifiers. Yes. In amateur radio, we do have amplifiers. You name it. I don't want to say I'll take everything. I kind of, I can't take antiques because people won't buy them.
Okay.
But you'll be surprised,
Buying used is always a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. With everything? So first of all, are you guys affected by this whole chip crisis?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
A lot of our vendors are having problems getting stuff like that. Yeah. So raw materials is definitely a problem right now.
So the values right now, is this a seller's market?
Yes.
Okay. So values are pretty high on things. So if people have that stuff and they're not into it and they want to get rid of it, this would probably be a good time. But for the guys trying to get in cheap, this is probably not as good a time as it could have been, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will tell you that after the 2020 election, there was a huge surge on all our stuff. We sold out of almost every radio within weeks of the election.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was gonna say the election and April 15th, 2020. Oh my, was a day of.
Why April? Why is that? Like isn't that tax time?
It was tax day, and that's when everybody got the first stimulus check.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And, normally I get to work at 7 a.m. I'm kind of the early bird and get out of there early. That wasn't an early day for me out the door. That was a 9 p.m. out the door, because by the time he arrived to work, which he doesn't do anything but purchasing, and finding us new products to offer, I was downstairs in the warehouse helping them package stuff because people were buying because they thought the world was coming to an end.
Oh wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Which was great for us, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, here we are with no product to sell, a month or two later, and then he's begging his, suppliers to get stuff.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing. I think a lot of people were sitting at home, bored, looking for something new to do, and the ability to sit there and talk to the world live from your couch was a very appealing thing.
Yeah. It's so weird. Like, how can we actually do this in the world? Like, not even the world. Let's say America.
Okay.
At the same time, everyone's buying everything. So the gun world, all the sales went up. In the car world, all the sales went up. Even specifically like vans and RVs in general. There's like, RVs are just selling out. Radio, so all of this, everyone was just buying everything. At what point does that actually catch up to us? Where's the money? Where was the money coming from? We're printing the money. What happens when people realize it's like not the end of the world necessarily? What do you guys think about that? Do you see people still holding? Because, and here's the reason why I'm asking you. Like, I remember when we had these kinds of rushes in the gun world, and everyone went out and bought all the guns and bought them. So an AR that you could have bought for at one point, you know, $300-400 you could have bought an AR, $600. People were buying for $1,000, $2,000. And then all of a sudden, they had no money, and they had these guns, and the gun stores were not buying them back at those prices. They didn't even want to buy them back, or they're like, okay, we'll give you $200 for that thing. You know, are you guys seeing that same kind of stuff in your world?
No.
I think supply chains are so constrained right now, and will be that way for such a long time. It's going to be years before that market gets corrected.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
So there's
a lot.
I've talked to people all over
There are a
the
lot
world.
more gun manufacturers in the world than there are ham radio manufacturers. In the world.
Okay.
A lot more gun manufacturers. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can get all kind of AR-15 stuff. I mean, it's like, gosh, you can get AR-15 stuff all day long from who knows, American made, non-American made, all kinds of different stuff from different countries and whatnot. So some of it's good, some of it's maybe not so good. But yeah, there's a lot less ham radio manufacturing going on in the world because ham radio is really kind of there's a lot more gun owners in America today than there are ham radio operators in America today. And that's
Really?
always been true. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were going to say something there, Jason. Alabama, Jason.
Well, no, I was just saying that it has become the second coming of amateur radio. Amateur radio has been just kind of hovering for a long time, and then everybody understood the value of communication when suddenly they didn't think they would be able to do it again. And when you're looking at everything going on around the world, you know, the guy with the radio who can reach out for help, that's a very important guy to know these days, you know? And a lot of people are just really looking at the fact that they want to be able to communicate with anybody. I can pick up the phone and call my brother and talk to him, but when a tornado came through in 2011, I couldn't do that. I had to go pull a radio out and start talking to people. So, you know, it's kind of important to be able to communicate or at least listen to what's going on, and people are starting to understand that now.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll be interested to hear what you guys think about this. Like a big place, I've always seen radios and things like that, right? You know, I watched Smokey and the Bandit, you know. So I've seen CB radios and things like that. When I lived outside of America, that was a thing, and you know, and I lived in Nigeria, and I know that people communicated using these things. But the thing that really made me start thinking seriously about it is I started reading survival fiction stuff. You know, so for example, in Florida, there's a writer called Angry American, and he did I think it was the Going Home series about.
Man, I just read like the first 5 of those books in record time. That's just a freaking awesome series. I love
it was pretty good.
That whole series. So yeah,
it was pretty good. We've had him on the podcast in the past.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah, for anyone who is you know, interested in that. Yeah. But when I started reading and listening to those audiobooks that came out of that, that's like that played so the whole premise for anyone who doesn't know in that storyline is that there's an EMP that hits the world, knocks out all electronics and stuff like that, and you know, people have to pick up the pieces and things get crazy, and the government's kind of like starts controlling people, and one of the ways for everyone to communicate is, you know, ham radio. So do you guys think that, and we see it in movies, we see it all over, do you guys think that played a big part when, you know, when in, like, let's say you said with elections, everyone started buying everything. When people think the world's coming to an end, they're like, I'm going to need this.
Well, it's like anything else. I think my biggest problem with what was going on is that everybody was buying everything, but they didn't know how to use any of it. You know, it's great that you own it, but there is some finesse into using this stuff. So what I'm really looking forward to seeing, and I think it's starting to happen now, is that people are going, okay, well, I have this thing, now what do I do with it? Yeah. One of the beautiful things about amateur radio is you will never find a group of people more willing to help a new person in the hobby than amateur radio enthusiasts. And they even have a nickname for it. They call them Elmers. And I promise you tell an amateur radio operator you're interested in getting into it, you have just made a new best friend, and they will do everything they can to help you out.
Worse than Apple people.
Really?
Worse than Apple people. So in a good way. Worse than Apple people.
Yeah. So, probably not worse than Tesla people. I think those are the worst people.
Probably not that bad. Probably not Tesla people. But no, Jason's right. It's you know, and I hear this a lot. When the pandemic started and the lockdown started, I used to hear all the time, Why do I need a ham radio license? Because in an emergency, I don't need a license to transmit. And that is true. In fact, that's one of the questions on the technician test is like, what type of transmission is permitted and what frequency is permitted if your person, if your family, if your property is in immediate danger, immediate threat, immediate danger. You can legally operate on any band, any radio, anywhere you want to, in an emergency. Okay, and people were saying, well, the pandemic's an emergency, I should be able to communicate where I am. No, that's not how the FCC defines an emergency. Whether you agree with it or not, that's not what that means. Okay, so in an immediate threat to your person, your property, your family, you can use any form of communication possible. But, and here's what I tell people, and I tell this to a lot of gun guys. I'm a gun guy. I grew up with guns. I grew up in Texas. Okay, I'm the stereotype Texas guy. My dad's a gunsmith. He retired from the fire service 7 or 8 years ago, and he started his own gunsmithing. He's an FFL gunsmith. I've been around firearms since as far back as I can remember. I'm not an expert, but I'm very familiar with them. So what I tell people is this: okay, do you go to the gun store and buy your first firearm, and you look at it, you're like, okay, cool, I've got a handgun now. You go home, you put it in your drawer, and you leave it there until an emergency happens.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you actually take it out sometimes and put several boxes of rounds and bullets through it and try to actually practice and get good with it?
Right.
Okay, so
right.
a ham radio license gives you opportunity to do that, to get on the radio and use it and program it and learn what the community, how to operate in a non-emergency environment, so that when the emergency happens, you are prepared for it. And that's what a ham radio and a GMRS license, that's what a license does for you. Because a radio is great, but if I hand you a radio and say, hey, Hank, go to 146.700 and program it to a plus 600 offset with a PL tone of 110.9, and I'll meet you there, and then I leave.
You lost me at Hey Hank.
Yeah. So it's just like anything else. You don't need a radio to put in the drawer and leave there until an emergency happens. You need to know how to communicate. You need to know how to use that radio, how to program it, how to change frequencies, how to do everything that it'll do before an emergency happens. That's the definition of prepping. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether you're a prepper or not, you know, there's good prepping, there's bad prepping, but if you are unprepared, if you have a radio in your backpack, great. But if you don't know how to use it, you are unprepared for that contingency, and that's what ham radio provides for you.
Right. I agree with I agree with your analogy in the comparison to guns. I think people should get into this and figure out, like, take time trying to figure out what do you want to get, what do you want to do, this train with this, what's, all kinds of things around it. But the flip side happens, so there are those of us who do that, right, and we do it on different levels. But I think that when these kind of buying events happen, right, these unusual tsunamis of buying events that we're seeing right now happen, that's what everyone does. It happens with the gun stuff. People just go into gun stores, and there's people that are shocked that when they have to go into the gun stores, that they have to actually go through background checks and stuff like that to get things. Because on the news, they've been told that you could just go get a machine gun out of the gun store and just walk in there and, pay some money and walk out with it. But so they get shocked there, but once they buy that thing, they go put it at home, and they just don't, they just put it away somewhere, put it in a closet, and forget about it. So it's not like the normal of what you would see when people are getting into these kinds of things, which is too bad, because if stuff really goes crazy, how are you going to figure that out in a real emergency situation if you don't think about it before that?
Right. And that's kind of what I tell people. That's the reason I do YouTube videos, really, because I want to educate people on how to become a ham radio operator and how to use the radio and what different features of the hobby are out there, and the radio art, what they call the radio art, is out there. And prepping and emergency communications is definitely one part of ham radio, but it's not the only part. There's a lot of different facets to it, just besides just that. I have people coming on my channel these days asking, so why do I need to know all this electronic stuff if all I want to do is contact my family in an emergency? And I'm like, well, you're looking at it from a single lens, when you need to be looking at it from a wide angle lens. Okay, because ham radio can be about prepping, it can be about emergency comms, it can be about this, but it's not. But it's so much more than that as well. And I tell people about, I tell people in the gun world about the same thing. I know several guys who have gun YouTube channels, and they're like, we just want to educate people. I personally think that everybody in the United States who is of legal age and legal standing should own a firearm and learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
Amen.
we're the only country. Yeah, we're the only country on the planet that has protected gun rights in our Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody should learn how to do that. I say, well, I'm scared of guns. Well, you were scared of a car before you learned how to drive it. So it's not something that you should take lightly, but it's something you should educate yourself in. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what my focus and goal has been for Ham Radio for the last 6.5 years on my YouTube channel. Is like, there's a lot of people out there that are asking questions and want to know more about what we do, and I want to tell them about it, and I want to educate them in it, and I want to give them my advice. And sometimes my advice is good, sometimes it's not. But at least I'm, providing a helping hand to those who want it. So.
Yeah, and to me, here's the thing I believe about freedom. If you don't want to do any of that, go knock yourself out.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's going to force you to do it.
Yeah, more than likely, you are the person who's going to suffer the most for it. For not taking that time to do these kinds of things. And it would be good. There's a lot of things in life that we need to learn. I think that unfortunately, when we go to school and we do that like kindergarten to high school thing. There's a lot of indoctrination and stuff that goes on with that, and a lot of real world skills that people don't get, and they should be getting them even before they get out of high school. Including a knowledge of firearms. They should know how to swim. They should, everyone should have to figure out how to go out there and camp and do things. And I think the same thing comes to, even this radio stuff, a lot of these things people don't see unless they do stuff like go in the military, which I never did. I don't know if any of you guys ever did that.
No, not me.
Okay, so Steve is the one guy that's done that. And it's too bad. That's why I know there's places around the world where people have to really survive, and everyone has to go into the military. That's for a reason.
Oh, and do I think every high school student should go in the military for 2 years like it is in, I think, Israel and other countries? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And, will it help us better as a country? Maybe. There's going to be people out there that say, well, I don't want to send my idiot nephew to the military, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's if anything's going to cure him, that's the one thing.
Right.
I mean, there's people who go through the military, it doesn't necessarily help. But I mean, you can't cure everything or everyone. There's a couple of things here, unless you guys have stuff. I know Lola was saying, Lola says, how long has Ham Radio been doing this? His expertise is impressive. That's from Lola. Okay.
26 years.
26 years. What about you guys? What about Steve and Jason?
I've been in the hobby since 98. Well, licensed 2005, doing communications since 14 years old, so 94, and since 94, so what, almost... That's a long 26 time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I got my first license in 94.
In 94 you were 14 years old? Oh,
I'm only 41. I hate to admit that, but I'm only 41.
Oh man, some young dudes on here.
Yeah, he's a young guy. So.
Yeah.
I was in college. I was in college in '94 when I got my first ham radio license.
I graduated high school in like '88. I feel really old.
Oh, good. I'm young then. I was 4 years after that, so I'm good.
Oh. Yeah, Jason.
For 3 years.
How many years?
3 years.
3? Okay. All right. Cool. So the other thing Lola wants to know here is if HAM is an acronym of some sort, which is, I guess, that's a good question. What does HAM stand for? Where'd that come from?
That's kind of a no one really knows. Mm-hmm. It's kind of there's a theory out there that I think the gist of it, I might get part of this wrong. The gist of it is that people used to be referred to as hams when they would get on the air and rag chew and just take up the airspace. And they would talk on the radio, and people say, "Oh, they're just hamming it up on the airwaves."
Okay.
And then that kind of became a generalized term about ham radio. The technical, the realistic book term for it is amateur radio. And it's amateur radio because we're not public safety, we're not professional commercial radio. That's why we can't encrypt or scramble our traffic. It's one reason. But ham's just kind of like a nickname that came up way back in the day, 100 years ago, that nobody knows exactly where it came from, but it's just always been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an acronym, though.
What's that?
It's like Let's Go Brandon. It started out as making fun of us, but we just adapted it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. I'm trying to look through the chat and see if there's other questions that we're missing. So Boss Hog says, I wonder if these guys remember when they used to modify radios for Mars/Cap. What is that? I don't know what that is. You guys have to explain that. Mars
is the military amateur radio service. They still do that. They still modify radios for military. Cap is a Civil Air Patrol. And somebody in the he also said Cap doesn't use ham radios anymore, which I didn't know that. I thought they still used ham radios out there. The Boy Scouts still have a merit badge for ham radio, so you can still get ham radio exposure as a Boy Scout.
Okay.
And the Girl Scouts.
And the Girl Scouts.
And the most important thing to know is the minimal age to get your license is there isn't one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you can get into it.
And Jason makes a valid point there. 2 years ago now, at the Huntsville Ham Fest, we had the former president of the Amateur Radio Relay League give us I would really call it like the status of amateur radio. The struggle we have now is the median age of this hobby is 67 years old.
Ooh.
So in 20 years, I'm going to be falling into that median age. So we have to get youth involved. And truly the biggest, it bothers me to say this, but it is so true. This is the worst thing that I think was ever designed in society, because you put this in a kid's hand, that's all they live on. Well, here's the big thing. What happened December 25th last year in Nashville? You know, we had that bombing. We had the bombing at at the AT&T building. At their data
no
center.
Phones. Yeah.
We had no phones, no internet here, all the way down in Huntsville for 3 days. But boy, I could come out here in my shack and I could hear everybody passing traffic from here to Knoxville to Nashville, because families were worried. You know, is everything okay? You know, and we just did it. We did it because it's our passion to help others in a timely need, and we did.
And we are big users and purveyors of battery and solar technology. So I know I do. I know Jason most certainly does. And I know you have it, the capability of running it indefinitely. I've got batteries and solar that I can hook up to my stuff and just keep on trucking. No matter what.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, to respond to what Steve was saying, he's absolutely correct. People think that a lot of people don't know that AT&T, Verizon, these providers, they don't build their network so that all of their subscribers can pick up their phones and dial a number at the exact same time. You know, they got 20, 30 million subscribers, whatever the thing. The network's not designed for everyone to make a phone call at the same time. So when Katrina happened in New Orleans and when 9/11 happened in New York, there was a period of time, usually 2 or 3 days, in both of those situations where communications were down, not only because of the devastation and damage of the cell towers, but because everyone who was in the area or knew someone in the area picked up their cell phones and dialed a number and tried to contact someone that was they're like, oh, my cousin lives up there or my mother lives up there, so they tried to call into the area and they couldn't get through. So ham radio operators went into these situations and set up communications into and out of the area with nothing but a radio, a battery, and a wire. And they're using the atmosphere. They're using the airwaves of the atmosphere and the earth to send signals back and forth. In fact, this device right here uses airwaves to send signals back and forth through the ionosphere as well. The difference between this and a radio is that this requires some sort of external network, some sort of cell phone tower, some sort of Wi-Fi signal. Okay, a radio requires nothing. All you have to have a radio communication is someone else with a radio communication somewhere else in the world that's got the same setup as you do, and then you can send signals back and forth. You can't pick up your phone, Hank. I can't pick up this phone and dial you directly without going through a cell tower.
Right.
If you and I both had a radio in our hand right now, we could talk to each other directly with no infrastructure, no cell tower, no anything in between us, and we could communicate. So that's what people don't understand. This is actually a great tool for, most people will tell you this is a really great tool for maybe bugging out, maybe off-grid somewhat communications. There's nothing necessarily wrong with the smartphone or with the cell phone technology. Put in its place. It's not the end-all, be-all.
Yeah, most people don't have any redundancies. Yeah, most people, I think,
right.
you know, that's what these guys were saying, that people just don't have redundancies, and there's a lot of things that could go wrong. You know, your local tower, for whatever reason, be attacked or go offline. You know, you see these things happen. I always tell people there's these big emergencies that everyone prepares for. It happens everywhere, depending on where you live. Like, we have hurricanes and things like that, and then everything gets crazy under those circumstances. But, you know, it's the personal emergencies that everyone else in America might not be facing, but you in your particular county, you know, that cell phone tower you rely on, that's out for whatever reason. Someone went up in there and stole the tech out of there. Yeah. That happens.
Well, and last February, when we had the Texas Snowmageddon, which you might be familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
You know, at the time, I could not. I have a tablet that has a SIM card on Verizon, and I have my phone that has a SIM card on AT&T. The tablet on Verizon worked fine. But for like 3, maybe 4 days, AT&T, it just wouldn't work. And I'm like, they must have suffered some damage somewhere. There must be a down signal somewhere. I don't know. Later, about a month or so later, I found out that no, there wasn't any damage. They turned off their network to regular subscribers so that emergency and public safety, police and fire departments can use their network more efficiently. Okay, I can understand the sentiment behind that, but this was a very not reliable form of communication for 3 or 4 days in the state of Texas when power was out for that period of time. I couldn't make a phone call. So if I got stranded somewhere, I was out of luck with an AT&T phone. It just did not work. And that wasn't even that wasn't like a terrorist attack. That wasn't like a big hurricane or natural disaster. That was just
snow.
That was just snow and Texas that air
nature
company not knowing what the hell they're doing with their power needs.
Yeah.
So it can't even, like you said, it's a very it didn't affect a very wide area, but the area that it did affect was very much affected. So it was a personal emergency at the time.
Yeah, for people in that part of Texas, absolutely.
Even like Hurricane Sandy, I was still living in Virginia at the time. They told us at the Emergency Operations Center, this is going to be strictly. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, it's Apple, but
that's all right. That's okay. That's what I got. I'm rocking an iPhone.
You know, the good thing that they did, at least in Virginia Beach area, before the hurricane came, they said your cell phone service is going to be turned off so that emergency services could use it only. You could text, but you could not make a call. They did the same thing in Katrina when I was down in base St. Louis. Though those towers were destroyed, but even when we got into New Orleans, I could use my government cell phone. I could not use my personal Sprint phone because they wanted to get emergency traffic out. And, you know, that's the big thing is I really try to push a lot of youth involvement around here in the Huntsville area because it's our future. And if we don't get the youth involved, we're not going to have amateur radio in 20, 30 years. Or we might, but it's going to be us old, you know, soon to be coffin dodgers, as I call, you know, the older generation, you know, on the bands.
Yeah. Listen, I think I wouldn't count the kids out. I think there's, you know, there are a lot of kids out there that are interested in this stuff, but we have to try to create opportunities, pass on the knowledge and stuff like that. I mean, look, I'm a 50-year-old dude just getting into this now. I've got my kids are in their early 20s. And what I like to do is get into it and then introduce them to it. And, you know, once you start this in your family, then eventually some of that trickles down. But I think there is hope for the youth, you know, just just based on the fact that they don't like a lot of the stuff going on either. And one of the things about the phones, that I think the phones are a very universal thing to have in your pocket. It's entertainment, it's communication, you can have access to knowledge. I know people who work strictly off of their phones, even people on YouTube who do everything through their phone. There's just so many, good things about it. But yeah, we're starting to realize that there's a flip side to that, and people can control us. For example, when you're traveling, you get those emergency alerts, or even if you're home and you get those emergency alerts, like someone's gotten kidnapped. I know that's supposed to be a good thing, but there's lots of other things that the control that the government has over the phone. Recently, when I was in Nevada, I noticed that they were tracking where I was going in Nevada, and I never said you guys could track where I'm going. But just because I was in Vegas, I was getting Vegas alerts, and then I was like, oh, okay, what's happening here? And then I went to Reno, and there were Reno alerts that were coming up, and there was COVID stuff and all that they were pushing through to me, and I was like, what the hell's going on, right? But ultimately, they have a lot of control over these phones. So believe you me, there's a way that they could switch that phone off. They could do whatever it is that they want to do. And if you want to be in a position where people can't take it away from you, you're going to have to do some work, and this is where we're at on this stuff. So here's something I'd like to go into here. Where's the bridge? I know there's a bridge between these phones and ham radios, amateur radio, and stuff like that. What can you guys tell us about that? I've seen some things out there, and then kind of like, what I mean is, so for example, I've seen that there's ways you could use your phone and get on the internet and get a little bit further or do extra things. You guys familiar with any of that stuff?
Yeah, there's a service called Echolink, and there's another one called All-Star that will let you put apps on your phone where you can connect to ham radio repeaters that are connected to the internet. Mm-hmm. There's some other digital modes out there like D-Star and System Fusion, DMR, these kinds of things that'll let you communicate from apps. It's a fun tool to play with and to use. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times I'll do a video on that on my YouTube channel, and people say, well, yeah, but if the internet goes down, you won't be able to use that. Well, that's true, but the internet's not down right now, so I'm using it. So it's kind of like, it's one of those, like I said earlier, I was like, the whole MCOM thing is one feature of amateur radio, but it's not the only feature. There's a lot of different aspects to it. So yes, you can absolutely do that. You do have to download and install, you download and install these apps. In order to sign into them, you have to provide a valid amateur radio call sign. A lot of times, like the Echolink app, they verify your call sign. So if some Joe Schmo out there that doesn't have a valid ham radio call sign, they can download the app, but they try to create an account and it says you don't have a real call sign. So
okay, what can you do with that Echolink? What does that allow you to do?
It basically lets you, some ham radio repeaters have internet connections, so it'll let you connect to a repeater over the internet rather than having to use a radio. So, like, Hank, what city are you in? I forget.
Just outside of Gainesville, Florida.
Georgia?
Gainesville, Florida,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gainesville, Florida. Okay. So we have a Gainesville in Texas also. Mm-hmm. So in Gainesville, Florida, if there's a ham radio repeater that has an internet connection with an Echolink a number assigned to it, I could, on my phone, dial up that repeater number and connect to it and say KC5HWB, and then once you get your call sign, I can talk to you when you're keyed up to your radio in Gainesville and talking into the internet via a radio link, and I can talk to you through my phone via internet link. So there's ways to do that, and you can talk all over the world. I could key up a repeater in New Zealand or in Spain or something like that. Because the internet's everywhere, so or pretty much. But so yeah, you can do it, and it's kind of like an add-on on top of ham radio. It doesn't take the place of true radio traffic and true radio communication, but it's kind of a fun toy to play with when you want to connect to people in other areas that you can't get via radio sometimes. So it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, cool. What have you guys seen, Steve and Jason? What have you guys seen in terms of links with ham radio and the phones and stuff like that? or even two-way
One of
radios.
one of the repeaters, one of our main repeaters here in Huntsville, we call it the 9.4 machine because it's 146.940, is actually linked to the. I just lost. It's an all-star link like Ham Radio mentioned, but it actually is connected through the internet to several repeaters on the East Coast reflector. There we go. So any repeater that is connected to the East Coast reflector is also connected to our repeater. So, if let's say your repeater there in Gainesville is connected, and then Jason in Texas his repeater is connected, we can all talk to each other through the phone because some of these repeaters also have Echolink on it, All Star, and all these other modes, and we can all talk to each other via the phone, tablet, radio, all at the same time.
Okay.
Even some of these, like I grab a DMR radio, but in Florida is one of the most popular DMR digital modes used in Florida for emergencies because they pretty much put a DMR repeater all the way from Key West all the way to the top of Florida, so they can link the whole state. Does it work? It must, because when you guys get storms down there, that's the only way that I really listen to anything besides HF with the National Hurricane Center. But they use the internet connected amateur radio side to get traffic past until they lose internet, of course.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, I see Boss Hogg says that he talked to a guy in Ireland because his local repeater has All-Star. And one of the things I was talking about, and I don't know exactly what the name of it was, but there was something where if you had like a Bofang, let's just say for an example, you can actually connect that to your phone and you could send text over it. There was all this kind of stuff that guys were looking in to doing. I just don't remember what that stuff is called. I thought
you're
maybe
probably talking about APRS.
Right.
APRS. Which is the automatic position automatic packet reporting system.
Yeah.
There's a way to download on a Google phone. You can download an app called APRS Droid.
Okay.
There's a couple of Apple versions you can get as well. That'll connect to your radio unless you send APRS traffic to and from other ham radio operators. So yeah, there's a way to do that as well.
Yeah, I think
hotspots as well, which is what I think you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that. So like what maybe someone out there can fill me in on what that is. But I remember Babyface and I were talking about like being able to use it tactically, and I'm doing air quotes with that for everyone who's out there. I'm not anywhere near to being a tactical kind of guy. But they're like, yeah, you can use this and communicate with your group. So if you guys, let's say everything goes crazy and the phones aren't working, there was a way to use the radios to keep your phones going, but you can also you can communicate with your friends, you guys can know where each other were, you could send like maps and things like that, and do a lot of that stuff. Are you guys familiar with that?
That's APRS.
Okay.
Location sharing, maps, whatnot. That's APRS.
Okay. Yeah. So break that down for me, because it's not. You guys will probably know more about this than I do.
It's APRS is basically a way to share your position with who you want to share it. It's sort of like a GPS system, but it doesn't use satellites. It uses radio. And it has radio connect or internet connected radio nodes. So it'll report to a website, but it's basically a way to share your position and send text messages and send weather reports and whatnot from where your location is, and you can look at other locations and do like that. So there's a lot of different things it'll do. I've only kind of touched on the surface of what APRS does, but it's a very popular tool in amateur radio today. So there's a lot of people that are out there using it.
Okay, all right. So Jason and Steve, what do you guys know about that?
I was going to see if I could share my screen here.
Let me see. I'm not sure if there is a way for you to do it. Is there a link or something? Like if you guys have my number and there's a link, Or actually, there should be an interview chat that you could put a link in the interview chat, and I
I
can
have
go.
a share screen. I have a share
Yeah,
screen button
I have
on
a
my
share
window.
screen button.
Is it? Let me
Yeah.
see. Is it work? It should work for you then. Go ahead and do that.
Can you guys see the APRS? It's a map
No,
with a whole bunch of icons on it.
no, we're not seeing anything coming up yet.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as I see it, I'll tell you if it's coming up on our end.
Yeah, I can't. It won't let me share anything. It's grayed out still. Like you got to give me permission or something.
Let me see. I don't see anything. Yeah, it's not asking me to give you permission here. You should
Well,
be
while you
able
guys
to. Go
while you
ahead.
guys are figuring it out, Tina M has a really, really good question.
Tina M. Okay, Tina M says, Jason in Texas, you said about practicing with a firearm so you know what to do in an emergency. So if I were to get into ham radio, go buy a radio, how do I practice and where can I learn how to use them? Which is an awesome question.
That is a great question. I would Google or use DuckDuckGo if you want to. That's fine too. I would search for your whatever city you live in or county. If you live out in Sticks somewhere, which is where I live, where I wish I lived. If whatever city or county or area you live in, just Google that name of that city, ham radio club. So like I live in a town called Grapevine, so Grapevine Ham Radio Club. Go find a ham radio club near you and join that club, and maybe there's more than one, and kind of test them out, go to each one and find out what repeaters they have, and take your new radio that you buy on Amazon and get on, or no, I'm sorry, go to GigaParts and buy your radio.
Right, exactly. Jason was like,
go,
"Oh boy, what's going on?" Yeah.
And use their repeaters and get on the air and just start talking to people. Just start talking about anything, hey, the traffic out here sucks today. There's a wreck on this highway. Or what'd you guys see about the Christmas parade that went downtown last night or something like that? So just get on the air and start talking on your repeaters and just use your radio. I mean, that's all the practice you need. Use your radio. You're going to find out while you're using your radio, while you're programming your radio for different simplex frequencies and repeater frequencies, that is the practice that I'm talking about. So just using your radio on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. Good answer there. What, Steve and Jason?
I was gonna. I know who this Tina M is.
Oh,
It's
okay.
my stepmother, but
Oh.
but
Okay.
I'll use her. Because of course I know where I grew up. The advantage that my parents have in Pennsylvania is the main repeater that's used in. It actually covers three counties in one thing. So in her case, it's kind of weird because there's a lot of repeaters up in Pennsylvania in the Pocono Mountain region that they don't get used, and I don't know why. There's a lot of clubs in Pennsylvania, but it's a cliquish kind of club. Now the advantage that my parents have where they live is the repeater system that is on top of the mountain, Blue Mountain ski area, where it's located. That range of that repeater is close to 90 miles, so it reaches to Philadelphia, and sometimes with conditions like we talked earlier, Scranton, Pennsylvania. As I always joke, certain people from Scranton, Pennsylvania, but a lot of places don't use amateur radio like they should, and Jason's area in Texas, they use it a lot. Jason can, or ham. I'll use ham radio because Jason's sitting here too. But we have 42 repeaters here in Huntsville, and our most popular frequency is not even a repeater. It's the national 2-meter simplex call of 146.52.
I was about to talk about that actually.
And it was amazing back in August when we had close to, I want to say 10,000 hams were in Huntsville, even though they say the numbers were 7,500, but we know there was more. But the repeaters were not even being used for 3 days, close to a week, because some of you guys got here earlier and stayed later. But so many people talked on VHF, 2-meter simplex, in a 50-mile coverage. And it was the most that I ever heard since living here for 3 years. But growing up in Pennsylvania, ham radio, though it's there, is not used. Virginia Beach, oh, they use it. New Jersey, they use it because when hurricanes, or the shit hits the fan, amateur radio was there.
Mm-hmm. So my question to that would be, so for people who are interested in this and do want to actually get out there and use it to get that practice that Tina is talking about, can you just create like your own groups and stuff like that, or what? How easy is it to do that?
Yeah, what some clubs do, like the Huntsville Club here, every Monday night they do a rag tunette where they just get on the air and talk.
Mm-hmm.
And there's clubs that do it every night, 8 p.m., 7 p.m., 7:30, and they just get on the air for however long or how many check-ins they get. HF, I could probably turn my radio on right now. Jason in Texas could turn his on, and there is probably 20 to 30 nets going on around the United States. Some are state nets. Some of them are just people just talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to talk about is, let's talk about 14652. That is pretty much the ambiguous channel that everybody talks to. It is the national channel.
What is that,
So,
like just a hangout spot? What is that?
It's almost like, I will call it, not to pick on the GMRS FRS guys, it's like the GMRS Channel 1.
Okay. Yeah, I wish I knew what that meant. Ham radio gets it, but okay.
It's the main meeting place for.
Okay,
for
where
most
everyone
people.
goes. It's like the universal.
I'll go
Okay.
CB Channel 19 then. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 14652, you're pretty much guaranteed, no matter what radio you have and no matter where you're at, somebody's going to be on that. So if you're new to amateur radio, I would just simply get on that channel and just start communicating. You're bound to get somebody to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell them that you're new to amateur radio, they're going to be the most forgiving people. They're going to absolutely help you along the way.
Okay.
So it's really easy. Get an inexpensive radio, get on channel 14652, and you're well on your way.
So this brings up a good point here. And by the way, we are at some point here going to get into, we're going to show off some guns and stuff. That's happening. I've got guns right here with me. I've even got some lowers and stuff like that. I've got like an interesting lower here. But what's the etiquette? Here's my question that just popped into my head here.
Sure.
What's the etiquette, especially for folks starting up here? What should we know? Like, where can we go wrong? What's etiquette for noobs?
I don't really think you can go wrong. I'll be honest with you.
There's no cursing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I go with the international standard language used is English. Yes, you will hear on HF Italians talking in Italian, but when it comes to the standard language is English. So
Okay, good. I got that covered. I mean, I'm pretty good with English.
Yeah, so like Hank,
Yeah.
like when you were living in Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
you will have, there are Nigerian amateur operators.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes,
Most
we know
West
that
Africans speak English. It's their second language, but they're pretty good. Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be that language barrier just like any other country. So, and I don't want to make, fun of, but, it's always like 7-3, good luck. They do as best as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But, yes, there are people that do curse on the radio. And
What happens if you curse on there? Does the feds show up? Like,
there's
you
actually
get kicked
called-
off?
There's official observers, which I want to say are our tattletales.
The chances of that happening are very slim. But I will tell you, first thing you're going to
Snitches get stitches.
Right.
The first thing you're going to do when you communicate is you're going to communicate your call sign. So if I was getting on the radio right now, I would say KN4 RWZ, monitoring and listening.
Mhm.
So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to speak your call sign, and you're going to do that every 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That is probably the first most part of etiquette on the radio, is to make sure everybody knows who you are. It is required.
Okay. All right. I'm assuming that there's like these conversations are getting recorded somewhere or whatever. There are penalties. You can't just do whatever you want to do. Like, all kidding aside.
Some repeaters are recorded. not many,
Not
but
many.
you do. Yeah, there's not many. You do have people that, they volunteer as, the ears, and they do issue. No, you can't do that. But they also at the same time will issue you a good, a data boy letter for, hey, you you did identify every 10 minutes, or hey, you know
That's so few and far between, though.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go to Ham Radio 2.0. Jason, what do you think your like rules of the road or etiquette for noobs?
You know, I'm a big proponent of learning by doing. And that's the best way I've learned something myself. So get on the radio and listen to how people are talking and what they're saying and what they're talking about. The cursing thing is real. If you get on the local repeater somewhere and you start using a bunch of foul language, most of the time somebody will get on there and call you out for it. Um, Other than that, it's kind of like just talk about whatever you want to. Just don't be rude to people. And
Okay.
that's the biggest thing. Don't be rude to people. Don't get on and start calling people names. Don't be a jackwagon about that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're getting on there and just kind of talking to somebody like they're your neighbor, you're going to be okay. It's very laid back and chilled until you start getting rude or just getting belligerent or something.
Oh, okay. Is it the
So
same
if you
same
just
kind of rules for talking to your neighbor? Like I guess you can't talk about religion, politics, sex, and all that kind of stuff, or
you know some it a lot of the times that depends on the repeater owner. Some repeater owners will say, hey, you guys are welcome to use my repeater, just don't talk about politics or religion, especially politics these days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like a sort of there's no really rule about that, but a lot of people are like, okay, let's not talk about this on this repeater because it's a friendly place that we want to keep friendly. So, but there's other repeaters out there that are saying, yeah, sure, go ahead and talk about whatever you want to, and then there's people that get in heated debates about stuff. So,
Right.
so it kind of
Mm-hmm.
depends, and there's a lot of different repeaters out there, a lot of different talk groups on the digital world and whatnot. So, you can kind of find something that falls into your own personality and kind of stick with those folks and do it that way. But there's not really, it's not really, there's not a lot of rules in amateur radio. It's more of just be nice to people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're nice to people, pretty much everybody's going to leave you alone. So
Yeah, I'm guessing the
um,
golden rule applies.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in that situation. Skivvy Waver says been a ham for 7 years, and last year I purchased a ICOM 7300. One of the
Great radio.
problems, you guys like that?
Mhm.
ICOM 7300. One of the problems I see is there's so much atmospheric interference that makes connecting somewhat difficult depending on time of year, etc. I don't know if there's any comments on that.
What you're
I
calling atmospheric interference is probably what we call RFI, and it's probably some sort of interference from something near you.
A
So make your wife,
microwave, a solar controller, something
yeah,
like that.
yeah, make your wife incredibly happy. Go into your house one day and turn the main power breaker off on your breaker box. Turn the entire house off, and then turn on your radio and see if that interference is gone. And then if it is gone, start turning breakers on one at a time. And when you see this big spike of interference and noise come across the radio, then you're going to know where your interference is coming from. 9 times out of 10, that's your problem.
So then what
I'm
do you
actually
do?
work.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
I'm actually working on a video where I do exactly that. I'm going to turn
Oh,
my
okay.
entire house off
Huh.
and
Okay.
start turning on stuff one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can to combat that, you can use ferrite beads and you can use toroids to put over power lines and whatnot to cut down on electrical interference from appliances and whatnot. So it's kind of a long explanation, but there are ways that you can prevent that type of noise.
Okay. All right. I'm guessing that the Alabamians also have some input here. What do you guys?
Well, he was mentioning ferrites, and I've got a
There
huge
you
one
go.
here that
Mhm.
I have so many. I have all my stuff has ferrites on it because I am a very avid contester. I contest in the hobby, so
Mm-hmm.
you know
Let's talk about that for a minute. What is contesting?
what is contesting. I knew he was gonna have me ask.
Right.
Yeah, there's gun contesting, but I don't think a lot of people know there's actually contests for amateur radio.
There is a contest every weekend in this hobby, and basically what that is in most contests, some are 24 hours, some are 48 hours, and all we do is our goal is to get as many contacts from around the world, not just there's statewide competitions, but you get as many contacts with other stations in the time allotted in that contest or competition.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what does that sound like? Well, you just like going. I'm trying to get a handle around that. You just like calling in to. Mm-hmm.
How crazy is a contest?
Mm-hmm. Or what does it sound like? Like, what are we talking about? You're as fast as you can. You're just going in and calling somewhere in another country, and then like, okay, and then you're going to another one.
Yep.
You make a contact, and you make another contact, and make another one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I've been in contexts that have gone 48 hours straight, where we have done 46 or the straight 48 hours, multiple people, and all we're doing is CQ contest, November 2 Charlie Whiskey, or W2GD, or K4 GIG, and we're just, KN4 RWZ 5973 good luck, and just call sign after call sign after call sign, while we're logging it on our computers all at the same time.
Okay.
Now, not everybody does this, Some people, they don't want to do the contesting. They just want to do the MCOM side, or they want to work satellites, or they want to... Mm-hmm. There's so much into this hobby, and, I like the contesting part. I like chasing for awards. That's why I write a article every month for a magazine in the hobby on just awards available around the world.
Okay, so what are you getting? Like patches or something, or what are the awards?
Let me see if I.
He gets plaques and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna see. Let me see if I can, without breaking any of them.
The biggest part about contests is they require you to do something in amateur radio different. So one contest will make you do a certain band or frequency. Mm-hmm. Another contest will make you only use 5 watts of power. Mm-hmm. So it forces you to become really good at a lot of different things. So we're constantly honing our craft and skills by doing different contests. Kind of like a 3-gun competition. You're pulling out 4 or 5 different guns, and you have to shoot for this distance with this gun. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's just we're using different hardware and different requirements to achieve a result.
And some of these contests, and as I was saying, some of these contests where there's categories like ham radio could be doing, single operator, just him, high power. So he's using more than 100 watts. I could be out in my GigaParts van doing single operator, low power. So I'm under 100 watts.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, like one of the big ones that, ham radio loves to do is parks on the air. There are people that are competing to be the best of the best when it comes to working every national park or state park in the United States. And even they're trying to branch that to around the world, parks.
Okay. I think, Ham, you were going to say something?
Okay, Hank, I've got one for you. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So you're talking about wanting to get your ham radio license, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how fast you're wanting to do that, but whether you have your license or not, hopefully you can get it by then. But mark your calendar for the last week of January.
Okay. Last week of January. Okay.
It's like the 28th through the 30th, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an official invite. I'd like to invite you out to North Texas. Bring your van.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go out to my hunting lease, which is about an hour north of me. And we can bring your guns. We can blow up stuff out there, do whatever we want to.
Okay.
But we operate a contest that weekend called Winter Field Day. Mm-hmm. And we bring radios out there. We set up. We usually use battery and solar power. We set up antennas. And then for about 24 hours, from like 1 p.m. Saturday to 1 p.m. Sunday, Texas time, we will work a contest. And some people say it's not a contest, but it's Winter Field Day, so it actually is a contest. But that's what we've done that for the last 4 or 5 years. We bring new people out, just to invite them out there. We're out in the woods. There's no power out there. It's all generator or solar power. I have my RV trailer out there. We have a fire pit. We drink beer at night. We have a fun time. We go blow up stuff. We smoke cigars. It's just a really good, fun time to hang out with other people in the woods and operate ham radio. So you can get your fill of, well, maybe not your fill, but you can get your toes wet and get a really good experience in a contest by doing that. So
Okay. Yeah,
Lola,
I want to do something like that. I need to see what kind of temperatures you get to in that area.
it's usually not too bad. It
Okay.
could be down in the
January.
20s and 30s, but but this is Texas. This is Texas. So
Okay.
it's down for the last 2 or 3 years. It's usually been in like the 60s during the day and like maybe the 40s at night.
Okay.
Sometimes like the mid to high 30s, not below freezing. It's usually like that.
Okay.
Again, we've got generators, we've got battery power, we've got plenty of heaters and whatnot, so we can go indoors at nighttime.
Yeah.
But it's a fun time. It's a fun time, and if you guys get your ham radio operator license between now and then,
Yeah.
you can come out and operate with us on our club call sign that we use out there. And I'll sit you down in front of a radio and say, "Here, watch me for 5 or 10 minutes. Here's what you do," and I'll let you do it, and you can go for it and see how fun it is.
Okay, cool.
So,
yeah, Boss Hog says he
put that
hasn't
on your
been to. Yeah, Boss Hog says he hasn't been to a field day in years. And let's see here. Skivvy Waver says radio is not in the house. I'm talking about sunspots, etc. And 42 Chill says nighttime is usually better. So there is some kind of atmospheric interference outside of what's in your house, right? Okay. My thing that I would like to get into here is, what do you guys see? Before we're gonna get into gun stuff and just go free for all here in a second, but I'm trying to make this as comprehensive for the folks out there who are into this or getting into it like myself. Where do you guys see the future of all this going? What's coming up that on the horizons, or what are things that you're wishing would exist?
I think you're going to see my personal. I don't know. I don't know. My personal guess and opinion is that you're going to see more and more and more of this as things start. Ham radio has been, the number of people getting licensed every year has been on the rise since 2006. Okay. I've had a lot of people come by my channel and say, "Oh, well, ham radio is popular again only because of COVID 2 years ago." No, incorrect. If you go look at the statistics, ham radio has been on the rise since 2006. Now, we got a huge spike in it because of COVID last year, yes, but it was already on an upward trend for the last 14 years prior to that. So I think you're going to see, my personal opinion is, I think you're going to see it continue to rise, more people get involved, more people get interested, and it's going to become a little bit more mainstream like it was back in the 50s and 60s myself. I would like to see that. I would like to see that type of interest grow in it. But even if that doesn't happen, there will be people out there like myself and the guys from GigaParts and a lot of other great YouTube channels out there that are ambassadors for ham radio and wanting to tell people about the hobby to get into it. So that's where my focus is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think with people buying stuff, even though some people might put those things away, more people buying it and getting into it, things are going to stick. And then hopefully technology and things like that come along, keep it interesting and keep growing it out. So to my friends in Alabama, what do you guys think, or what are you looking forward to seeing here in the future?
I think we're going to see a lot more companies making radios. I think we're going to have a lot more opportunity to buy different radios from different places. Baofeng is just the start. I think you're going to see a lot more Chinese radios coming on board. You're going to see a lot of European companies start to make radios too. I think you're going to see a lot of radios from the United States come on board as well. So we're this is the golden age of gun buying. This is like the golden age of radio. I mean, we're flush for choices, and it's only going to get better.
I foresee it's already out there, and I'm hoping ham radio has his close if he still has one. There's a radio on the market that we offer called it's in my mind, R Finder.
Oh, It's inside.
It's inside. Okay, but it is a Android phone with a. It's basically a about this size, but granted, this is just a Uniden trunking scanner. But it is a Android phone that is a
Radio.
radio all in one package.
If I googled R Finder, I would. It's gonna come up.
Yes.
The
Okay.
letter R and then Finder, no spaces.
Oh, no spaces. Okay.
No, just RFINDER.
Okay. So here, let me share my screen with you guys.
You're probably
There we
going
go.
to see some of my. You're
right
probably
there.
going to see my ugly face in some of front of the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got some. You've got some videos on.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you
Go back
look
to
up
left.
videos.
Oh
Oh,
my
look
God,
at
look
that
at that.
right there. Who is that guy? Yeah. Yeah. So there are
And
some.
you know, you even have the tablet. You know, there's even a tablet like what you're showing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, very cool. Let me go bigger on this so we can see it. There you go. Who is
There it
that
is.
guy?
I don't know. Some kind of.
That guy is not grizzly enough.
No. That guy shaves for a living. What the hell?
Yeah. So what is that? What does that cost? What are those? What's the price of those? And what's the benefit of that?
It's the marriage of Android smartphone to traditional two-way radio.
Okay.
So it's an Android smartphone with a two-way radio built into it. So it's a completely, you can use it as a standalone smartphone, or you can use it as standalone radio,
Oh, cool.
or you can use the two together. So it's
okay.
like the next generation of radio. So they start about $1,000 and go up from there.
Okay.
The tablets are more than that. And some people complain about the price, and my response is always, okay, go to the AT&T store tomorrow. Tell them you want a brand new Samsung Galaxy S20 with no contract and see what they charge you.
Mm-hmm.
Or go to the Apple store tomorrow
Oh, for
and
sure.
tell them you want a brand new iPhone with no contract and see what they charge you. So it's the same. So it's actually less than all that. But it's a true traditional two-way radio built into the back of an Android phone, and so it offers both worlds, complete access to both worlds in that regard.
Yeah. Sky's the limit, I think, with where anything could go. I don't know if you guys follow Starlink. I know Starlink is coming along. We might even get it in Florida, Lola says, sometime in December. Because Florida hasn't gotten it. Huh?
I think Starlink's going to change the world.
And how do you see it? Let's start with Jason in Alabama. How do you see it from like a amateur radio point of view, changing the world?
I don't think I can see it from an amateur radio point of view, but I will tell you, with remote working, imagine having full speed gigabit internet anywhere in the world. So I can go get in that Sprinter van home of mine and travel anywhere in the world I want to go, and be able to work remotely. I can change my scenery anytime I want, but I will still have that same consistent high speed internet access. That's game changing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if Steve had anything to add to that. For you know.
Yeah, I mean, he hit the nail. He hit the nail on the head on it. You know, we have a few people in the state that are testing it in that purpose of the overland or using it at home. And the only response that I've heard, besides a coworker of ours having it down in the Birmingham area, is some days it's fast, some days it's a little laggy, but
it's only going to get better.
It's it's still in that, to me, it's still in that test phase.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's there's so many different ways all of this, like, it's kind of cool. This is the first time in a long time that I'm thinking we're going to start seeing some cool things coming along technology-wise. I think Elon Musk is already talking about doing a Starlink phone. I really think there's lots of combinations and lots of different ways we could do with this and come up with some really cool, useful tools, like, how you guys are talking about that R Finder, all those kinds of things getting combined. What do you think about this Ham Radio 2.0?
I'm loving Starlink. I think that I signed up for it a while back. I don't have my system yet. I was kind of waiting for the mobile application to come out because they were locking it down to a grid there for a while. I don't know if they're still doing that or not. I haven't followed up with it in a while, but I want to do what Jason's talking about with the mobile application and just put it in the truck and always have it with me. And as someone who makes a living creating videos on the internet and on YouTube, wow, yeah, I would go to all the overlanding shows and all the ham radio shows and go out camping all the time and just do live streams all the time. That's what I would do with it. So I think it's going to be game changing in that regard.
Yeah. Also, I agree with that. I mean, as a guy with a van, the biggest expense that we spend more money in this van on mobile, like bandwidth, than the van.
Yeah,
because I've got AT&T, Verizon. Right now we're over T-Mobile, right? Is that what we're using right now, Lola? Yeah, we're using T. It's crazy, So yeah, when I think they do have a mobile version coming. I know they already put in patents and all. Obviously there's a whole thing that you have to go through. But right now I know people can move around and go to certain spots, and I've heard that even, let's say someone got it in, I'm not sure if it's in Texas, but let's say you got it in Texas and you go to Florida, you might still be able to link up. It's kind of iffy, but probably by the end of next year or something, we're going to be looking at a lot of that stuff going away. Yeah, it's going to be something completely different, because this is one of the places where the telecoms have a chokehold on us.
Not for long.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of things. Skivvy Waiver says, because Lola was asking if all of these things we're talking about can be bought at GigaParts.com. I'll let you guys answer that.
Starlink, yeah.
Yeah, as I say, except for Starlink and Starlink.
Not yet.
So Hank, I got a question for you. So Jason from Texas put out a video a couple of weeks ago about selling his trailer and what people would recommend he replace it with. So do you have any thoughts on that? Maybe a good trailer for him to move into next. He wants to get a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter.
A little bit smaller and light, like a good trailer.
Yeah, like an overlanding type trailer, but something larger than just a one-person sleeper.
Oh, I think we saw something really cool at in SEMA show. What was the name of that trailer we saw in SEMA show, Lola? I gotta go flip back right now and see if I can find some pictures of it really quick. We saw an experimental trailer, and I'm trying to remember the name of the company that was making that. There's a bunch of different ones. Huh?
Lancer.
Yeah, there's one from Lancer. We saw this that I'm going to share on the screen real quick. This is a trailer that you can get that comes small. So it comes like that, and then it extends like that. So we saw that, and I have a video up. That's Hitch Hotel. That's super small though. I don't know if you want to go that small.
That's a little bit smaller than what I want. I just want something like something that'll sleep 2 or 3 people, but is ultralight.
Yeah, there was one of those that I saw. I'm flipping through my pictures, and Lola says it's from Lancer, and it's an experimental. It's like a prototype that we saw at the show. I'm trying to. I thought I took pictures of that, Lola, or did I take that with a different? Did I take pictures of that with a different phone? I don't know if Lola took any pictures. She's not even answering me right now. I'm trying to
She's messaging it. She says Lancer, Hitch Hotel, Runaway Campers.
No, Lancer. Yeah, Lancer. Man, where's the picture? I have video. I need to put it up. But Lancers. I don't know if you ever heard of Lancer Campers.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, they've been doing this for a while, and they have a really, really, really cool camper that for some crazy reason I don't have any pictures of it on my phone. Oh no, I do. Hold on. Here we go. I knew I had pictures. You're gonna like this. This was at the Overland Experience at SEMA show. Look at this. So this can sleep this can sleep inside. You can have 2 people. You can have a couple of people up top and the pop top tent if you want. This hooks up to. You could put this on like an SUV. Pull it with an SUV and lots of different vehicles. It's got a bathroom in there, plenty of storage, all kinds of stuff, and it's, what is it called? The Lance Enduro. So that's something I thought was really cool. that's within the category of being lightweight, and it's got solar panels and batteries and all that kind of stuff on it that I think you would appreciate. I need to edit that video and get that video up out there. Skibby, wait, go ahead. What are you going to say?
I've been following your Stranger Palooza ever since we met in Virginia. So.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. Yes.
Your video, most of your videos I've seen since then. So.
Okay, very cool. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Skivvy Waver says, by the way, I purchased my icon and accessories from GigaParts. Boom, there you go.
Good.
That's awesome. Yeah, Lola says it's the Lance Enduro. There's probably more stuff on it if you guys are, if you're interested in that. And I will be putting that thing out. We're almost at 9 o'clock, so really quick. I don't know if you guys have guns. I'm gonna do some gun stuff here. Otherwise, I'm gonna hear about it from people.
That's fine.
So I ordered I ordered a PSA dagger.
Oh, nice.
A week and a half ago, and I talked to Josiah on the phone just like a couple days ago. And I've known him for a year and a half or so. He sent me a PA-15 to do a gun review on one of my other YouTube channels.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we need to get you on the next time we have Josiah on, too.
Yeah. He's a good dude. So, but I ordered my PSA dagger. They had it in the two-tone black and green. I wanted the desert tan, but they didn't have it at the time. I'm like, okay. But I haven't got it yet. So I'm looking really forward to getting that and tinkering with that because that looks like a really cool pistol.
Yes. And so check this out. This is what I've got right here to show off to people. The Keltec SU-16 right here, so foldable like that.
Wow.
Takes a you could put a PMag in there. Takes an AR magazine, full scale rifle. I think it's cool. The only drawback of this, I would say, like what I found is, so this pick rail here, this is polymer. And if you put anything on here that you clamp on really tight, it actually affects the piston in it. So don't do that. You gotta go. You need to go with the iron sights. You're gonna get your.
Would you rather have that, or would you rather have the sub 2000?
I have both of those. I think it depends on the situation that you're in. Because the sub 2000 is like 9mm and stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's just a case of, do you want 9mm to throw at a potential target downrange, or do you want 223 that you can do with this? So, and this is
What's the model number again on that?
This is the SU-16. There's a bunch of different ones for this, but this is the SU-16, and you could actually shoot this folded like this, believe it or not, if you have one of those little tiny magazines.
Nice.
You can actually you don't. You can actually do a full size magazine because the magazine can come all the way. Yeah, it can come all the way through there. So this is a very cool piece of kit. Obviously, it's not for everything. There's going to be a lot of situations where people would prefer just a regular AR. So that's what I've got going on here. I don't know if the GigaParts guys have anything they want to show real quick before. No, they don't. If you don't, it's cool. Yeah, we won't judge you. We won't judge you.
You judged me. You made fun of me when I told you I had a Shadow 2. You judged me.
CZ people,
Yeah.
What's up with CZ people?
Yeah, skinny jeans. So, I mean, we can just start with the skinny jeansness of it.
If I had skinny jeans, I would look like a frog standing up putting his pants.
Yeah. In America, not everyone's wearing skinny jeans. Yeah, but I mean, I was just messing with you. CZ's good stuff. I have a CZ Scorpion. So
I got one of those as well.
Yeah, very good gun. Here's something I can show off to people. This is the Barnauls BRN 180 lower. I'm going to build this into something right here. See, it's got the pick rail on the back of it right there. So I need to build this up into something. I haven't done that yet. I'm gonna be working on that. Are
you going to SBR that?
You know what? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to build with it. I've just been knocking that around. I try to build different stuff. Not build like the traditional thing every time I build something. So, Skivvy Waver says, hey, all my guns with a couple exceptions are CZ. Skivvy Waver must be related to you. He's buying stuff from GigaParts and he's a CZ. No, he's been on the show for a long time. He's been joining us out there. Appalachian Gunrunner says Gorn, so I've satisfied everyone's requirements for Gorn. We have shown some stuff. But it's over 9 o'clock, so I don't want to hold these guys too much longer. What I'm going to do is going to go around the clock here. I'm going to start with the guys from GigaParts.com. Tell the folks out there who are watching this, if they want to get in touch with you guys, find out more about GigaParts, where do they need to go?
Just go to GigaParts.com. We're on Facebook. We're on all the different social media. We're easy to find. Just GigaParts.com.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. And Ham Radio 2.0, Jason, where do people need to go? How can they follow you, communicate with you, support you?
My biggest platform is YouTube. Just Ham Radio 2.0, 2.0 on YouTube. I do post my videos on alternative video sites as well. Full30.com. I post pretty much all my stuff on Full30.com. Some of my stuff on Rumble and whatnot. But Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook is just Ham Radio 2 DOT0. So the word dot spelled out, Ham Radio 2 DOT0 is my handle there. But YouTube's definitely where I plant most of my stuff, is just YouTube videos like that. So Ham Radio is not controversial, so YouTube works well for me. But I do really enjoy the other platforms, and I do enjoy Full30, and I'm hoping to get started on Utreon as well. So I appreciate you telling me about this new platform here.
Oh, absolutely. You're welcome. So do you do your gun stuff separately, or you put that up on...
Yes, it's on YouTube. It's called the Oxgoad.
Okay.
Is my channel on YouTube. I haven't done anything with it. When COVID started and the lockdown started, the YouTube, the Ham Radio YouTube channel really exploded. That was my biggest channel at the time. It still is. And I just kind of put all my focus and energy into that channel because it was growing so rapidly. But I'm refocusing on, I'm going to start doing a little bit more stuff on the gun channel starting this month, actually. So, and Josiah from PSA has been really incredibly helpful and supportive of that effort. So
absolutely,
you'll see some stuff on that as well.
Yeah, we need to do some things. If you guys are ever here in Florida, let me know. We'll get together. We'll
actually all be there in Florida in February.
All right, so tell everyone about the show. We'll talk. We'll have you guys on again and talk about it. But what's the show coming up in February?
The show is called Hamcation. It's one of the three biggest shows for amateur radio in the United States, and it's the first one of the year. So there's going to be about 15,000 to 20,000 people in Orlando. It's going to be a blast, and we will be there. Jason will be there. Me and Steve will be there, and
I'm gonna try to be there. That's an outdoor event, right?
No, it's indoors.
Indoors, okay.
It's both. It's both. There's a lot of outdoor stuff that goes on. A lot of it's at the I forget the name of the campgrounds, but they have a lot of RV spots there. So there's RV people there.
Okay, so I could drive up to it and camp out there.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yep. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to try my best to be out there hanging out with GigaParts is going to have a booth, tent, or whatever is going on over there.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right.
So
yes, so we'll spend some time here talking about that. We'll have you guys come back on before that happens, and I'll try to put that on the schedule and get out to it. Hopefully I'll get my what is it? I'll get my what is it?
License.
What was the license called again? The
technician.
Technician. Yeah, there was something I saw.
You can even take the test there.
Oh, I could take it there.
Yeah,
okay.
You could. Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. So we'll make all of that happen. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to run in the end of the show here, and then we're going to come back, and one of you guys is going to give some words of wisdom. Who's it going to be? To the folks out there before we go out. Oh, it's gonna be you. It's gonna be you, Ham Radio 2.0. You have been duly elected. So we're gonna do that. Listen, I want to thank GigaParts.com, the guys from GigaParts, Jason and Steve, for coming on here, hanging out with us, taking their time, as well as Jason from Ham Radio 2.0 for coming on and hanging out with us. I know we didn't get to everything. We're gonna do this more. I'm gonna go do stuff for Ham Radio 2.0. As well as the GigaParts guys, and this is just like the beginning for everything. But thanks to all of you guys for coming on here. I really appreciate that. Big shout out to Barnauls for sponsoring us. We appreciate that. I'm going to run in the end now. You guys stay right there. We're going to come back right after the end, and Ham Radio 2.0 is going to give us some words of wisdom. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us here. Make sure you subscribe, follow us, hit the thumbs ups, arrow ups, all that kind of stuff. whether you're listening to us or watching us. We really appreciate it. Ham Radio 2.0. What's your words of wisdom for the folks out there?
My words of wisdom are: get started today in whatever type of preparation you want for when stuff is happening that you didn't prepare for. Mm-hmm. So while everything's kind of quiet right now, a little, all the electricity's on, your phone's working.
Sort of for 2021, yeah.
Sort of. While things are somewhat calm, as calm as they're going to be right now with what's his name in the White House, while things are kind of calm right now, Brandon, get prepared today. And that could be firearms, that could be two-way radio communications, that could be whatever. Okay? Stock up now so that when stuff really goes bad, you are prepared and you have what you need. Go get your ham radio license today. Check out Ham Radio 2.0 on YouTube, but check out hamradioprep.com for licensing information out there as well. And feel free to reach out to me through my YouTube channel if you have any questions on that. But go get it today.
Awesome. Thank you. Well done. You guys stay here. We're out of here. I got to press a bunch of buttons. Thanks to everyone for hanging out and listening with us. I'm not sure. Who's coming on tomorrow, Lola? Do you know?
Yes.
Who?
Pew Pew Tactical.
Oh, tomorrow Pew Pew Tactical's joining us. So that should be fun. Thanks so much for everyone for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow. We're out of here. Peace. Got to hit all the buttons. Let me see. I'm hitting the buttons.